Well, I don't want to speak too soon, but it does look as though the provinces in this country have finally located their spines and have decided to take the fight to the gender ideology cultists running the education system. 2 weeks ago, Manitoba and Saskatchewan decided to join New Brunswick in committing to making changes to education policy, which will require teachers to receive parental consent if their child wants to use a different name or a different pronoun while in the classroom. In other words, teachers now have to tell parents if their child is being socially transitioned at school, and teachers can no longer do it behind the backs of parents. Wow, so brave. Where have these premiers been for the last 2 or 3 years? I guess better late than never though, right? The new school season is just around the corner, and with this practice of socially transitioning children behind the backs of their parents still taking place in schools, it begs the question what the other provinces are doing allowing this to happen. What is Ontario doing allowing this to happen? And what is Alberta doing, that bastion of conservatism? You might think that withholding this rather critical information from a parent about their child socially transitioning at school is disgusting and creepy, but in fact there's an entire ecosystem of trans activists and teachers on TikTok breaking down over these new provincial policies, and in some cases filming themselves crying over the fact that they will no longer be able to socially transition your child while they're at school and you're at work. Let's take a look at some of these people who have graciously offered themselves up to be ridiculed and mocked for their absurd takes. It's really the least we could do. Drop a like in the video, help us out by subscribing to the True North YouTube channel, and the comment question for the episode is this: why does any province in this country allow teachers to socially transition students behind the backs of parents? Let me know in the comments, and let's get into it. First, it was New Brunswick Premier Blaine Higgs, who back in June announced an update to Policy 713, which would force teachers to receive parental consent if students are to use a different name or a pronoun while in class. And last week, Manitoba Premier Heather Stevenson, who let's just say is not known for her conservative beliefs, announced on the campaign trail that if re-elected, her government would enshrine parental rights and adopt the same policy. And then a few days after that, Saskatchewan took it one step further and immediately put into law parental rights in the province to stop this absurd practice of socially transitioning children behind the backs of their parents. In the province of Saskatchewan, effective immediately, just in time for the school season to start, schools must seek parent or guardian permission when changing the preferred name and pronoun used by students under the age of 16 in schools. Parents or guardians must be informed that they have the option to decline their children's participation in sexual education, and boards of education must immediately pause involvement with any third-party organizations such as ARC, Foundation, and the SOGI 123 program connected to sexual health education, while the ministry undertakes a review of educational resources to ensure alignment with curricular outcomes. Now, for those that are unaware, that third and final policy telling school boards to immediately pause involvement with third-party organizations is in response to what happened when a Saskatchewan wing of Planned Parenthood was caught handing out sexually explicit and graphic images teaching students as young as the age of 14 fringe sex acts. Meanwhile, in Ontario, the largest province in Canada, that government has so far refused to do anything about this practice. Just look, as I tried to confront Stephen Lecce on this issue back in June. How do you plan to hold... Okay. Just want to ask about Bill 98, just your own legislation.
Like, can we organize something? Not right now.
Okay, can we? Can I communicate with your staff? The province of Alberta, Danielle Smith, has also, so far, refused to stand up for parental rights. What's going on here? But as you could have guessed, these policy changes aren't going over too well with the gender ideology cultists and the radical left. And the opposition to enhanced parental rights, the opposition to having parents provide consent if their own child is to be socially transitioned, goes right to the very top of the political system in this country. Just look at what Justin Trudeau said when New Brunswick introduced the changes to education policy.
Right now, trans kids in New Brunswick are being told they don't have the right to be their true selves, that they need to ask permission. Well, trans kids need to feel safe, not targeted by politicians.
Trans kids need to feel safe? That is an insane thing for a leader of a country like Canada to say. Trans kid? What even is a trans kid? I'm sorry, but that doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a trans kid. The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation made their own video condemning a bill that would stop gender ideology cultists from transitioning children behind the backs of their parents. They're really upset about this new change. Take a look.
On behalf of the 13,000 teachers across Saskatchewan, I'm here to express our deep frustration and disappointment regarding the Minister of Education's recent announcement of new parental inclusion and consent policies. Every day, teachers work tirelessly to create inclusive learning environments where all students feel welcomed and safe. However, this policy not only handcuffs teachers' ability to build trust, it also dangerously threatens the safety and well-being of Saskatchewan students. This knee-jerk reaction to an isolated incident is a significant overstep by the government. It not only politicizes our classrooms, but it also takes us down a dangerous path without any consultation with teachers or the public at large.
They got brutally ratioed on Twitter for that, by the way, and they had to hide a bunch of comments, but this new Twitter feature allows us to read the comments they're trying to hide, and that's what we're going to do on the show right now. Actually, the government is standing up for the tax-paying parents of the children you are supposed to be teaching, not indoctrinating. Don't worry, everyone. The Saskatchewan Teachers Federation is here to save children from the menace of, checks notes, their own parents. That's about right. Yeah, these teachers really need to save children from their own parents. You absolute scumbags. How dare you? Stop creating violence where it doesn't exist in order to emotionally manipulate people. You know who encourages kids to hide things from their parents? Predators. People with bad intentions. People who would harm them. There is no legitimate reason why any school board should be hiding things from parents as a policy. If teachers have specific concerns about a specific student and that specific student's family, then get the school counselors and resource officers involved, and the police if need be. But under no circumstances should it be a blanket policy for school boards to be complicit in lying to parents about important issues in their child's lives. But all of that, well, it doesn't even compare to what I can only describe as the freak show on TikTok. These activists and probably teachers breaking down crying because they can no longer keep secrets from parents about children, because they can no longer socially transition children behind the backs of parents. Just take a look at some of these TikToks.
Terror grips me as I bring you this news. Some quotes I found on Facebook from the Conservative Party of Canada attempting to replicate what's happening in the States and ban gender-affirming care for minors.
Oh no. Banning gender-affirming care for minors. Oh, the terror does truly grip me, doesn't it?
Let's take a look. With the active support of the woke far left.
Well, first of all, this is the PPC, not the Conservative Party, but whatever she's about to read is going to sound extremely based.
Again, we're just throwing around buzzwords that we don't even know what they mean. And all establishment parties, as if the left is an establishment. Okay. Radical trans activists are trying to transform society in a way that curtails everyone's freedoms. How does me being myself curtail your freedom? This radical agenda, which contradicts basic biological realities, actually, please go to school past high school. It's just not correct, is proving particularly harmful to women and children. In recent years, cultural Marxists and radical activists in the media, government, and schools have made every effort to normalize toxic transgender ideology.
Extremely true. I mean, that's just Bernier spitting facts here, let's be honest.
Again, we're not an ideology. We're people. We exist. You can't erase us.
You can't erase us. Oh, and by the way, we want to socially transition your child behind the backs of parents, and we'll do everything we can to stop it. Oh yeah, and you can't erase us.
They teach children that their gender is determined by stereotypes, and if they do not fit into the traditional male or female gender roles, encourage them to think that they may have been born in the wrong body. Have you ever met a trans person, sir? We are the opposite of teaching that gender is determined by stereotypes. We are the ones unpacking gender and realizing that gender is actually a feeling innate to who you are. But I digress. Children are never born in the wrong body. Children should be taught to accept themselves and not seek solutions through pharmaceuticals and medical procedures. Hormones aren't pharmaceuticals, but okay. I hate the born in the wrong body shit that we said to cis people just to try and make them get it. It's not the wrong body. This is my body. It just doesn't reflect my gender identity, and I want it to. We're teaching children to accept themselves, to accept who they are, which might be a trans person. The normalization of transgender ideology, particularly amongst our youth, will have a catastrophic impact on the generation if we do not reverse course soon. That's just fear-mongering bullshit that has nothing to do with us. Again, transgender ideology is not a thing.
Transgender ideology is not a thing. You hear that, guys? We can all put our fears to rest, because from this woman, man, we'll go with thing. This thing here says that transgender ideology does not exist. That's right. The idea that men can be women and women can be men, and that we need to, explore trans. Oh, and the idea that there are such thing as trans kids. Oh, it's not a thing. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. It's obviously just not a thing. It's all, as this thing says, propaganda. Oh, God. Already crying. Okay, here we go. This is from Becky, she, they. We won't have as much issue identifying the gender of this woman here as we did with the last person.
Wayne Higgs and Bill Hogan did it. Children under the age of 16 in New Brunswick are going to be outed to their parents if they choose to change their pronouns in school. It f***ing happened and it went through. It's coming into effect July 1st. I'm currently working my way to become a teacher. I only have 2 years left of school, and I'm in New Brunswick. I don't know what to do right now.
What? Just keep studying, I guess? Don't socially transition children behind the backs of parents, and maybe don't keep secrets from parents about a child's name and pronoun?
I don't know if I want to leave this province and go teach somewhere else, because I can't out students. That's not something that I'm willing to do. That's not something I ever pictured being a part of this job. I'm not harming students in my own community. It's not something I'm doing. I know how dangerous this type of is. It would have been dangerous for me. It's what kept me in the closet for so long.
I see. It all starts to make sense. It's about you, is it, miss? Is that what it is? It's dangerous to not keep secrets from parents about children? I think the majority of Canadians might think the opposite of that. As a matter of fact, the majority of parents do believe it's the right thing, because a recent poll came out showing that the majority of people support this policy change in New Brunswick. Wow, go figure. Parents want to know what's going on with their own children.
It infuriates me. I've never been so f***ing upset at my government before.
Really? You've never been more upset at your government after they make a policy like this? Kind of weird.
Or felt less safe. Like, these children, do they need somebody as an ally?
No, they don't need someone as an ally. They need a teacher to teach them the things they need to be taught. They don't need an ally. They don't need a spiritual coach. They don't need someone who's going to keep a little secret between them away from their parents. They just need a teacher. Can you teach them math? Can you teach them English? Science? How about just focusing on that? Is that too much to ask for? Crying about not being able to withhold a secret from parents. Just a little bit of a red flag there, if you ask me. All right, here's this guy. We've seen this guy on the show before. Let's see what he has to say about Saskatchewan's evil policy of letting parents know what's going on with their own children.
The Saskatchewan government has rolled out 3 new incredibly draconian policies towards schools.
Incredibly draconian policies towards school. That's draconian. Yeah, this policy is draconian, but you know all the stuff they did during COVID, all of the lockdowns and taking away of our freedoms? That's not draconian, but this is definitely dangerous and draconian.
Each one of them is appalling and deeply, deeply problematic. First, under the guise of parents'
problematic. Here we go. What do we got?
Involvement of all third-party sex ed organizations from schools. This includes groups like the ARC Foundation and Planned Parenthood. It is worth noting that sex ed in Saskatchewan is severely under-resourced. Those organizations were coming to schools because they were requested to. And they were requested to because the schools weren't properly equipped to teach sex ed on their own. The second change is this: that parents must be informed about the sex ed curriculum and that they must have the option to decline their child's participation. Couple of things. No other curriculum is opt-in. None.
And there's probably a reason for that, don't you think? Schools are a place to actually learn things, not a place to be indoctrinated with degeneracy.
But perhaps most appalling is this new policy. Schools must seek parent or guardian permission when changing the preferred name and pronouns used by students under the age of 16 in schools.
That's the most appalling to this guy here. Again, what's up with these teachers, huh? Very, very strange. Okay, here we go. One last TikTok on Saskatchewan in particular.
The Conservative Sask Party government has instituted new laws that are just written by the Minister of Education. He just wrote them out and is like, you have to do these now. That this school year, any child under the age of 16 who wants to go by a different name and pronouns at school, their teachers are required to call and inform their parents. And for any child under the age of 16, I believe, again, parents are allowed to vet the school's sex ed curriculum and then opt their children out of it if they don't agree with what it contains. So I'm furious.
Oh, really? You're furious about that? Again, just a normal person. Just a normal person taking issue with parents being able to see the kind of curriculum their children will be exposed to before giving them a chance to look at it.
But I have to get ready to go to work, so I can't do a full analysis of this right now.
Oh, that's all right. We're not concerned.
But I have posted on the Government of Saskatchewan's Facebook post about it, saying that this is going to lead to suicide.
Really? It's going to lead to suicide?
Homelessness, and the spread of disease.
Homelessness? Suicide and disease? Because children under the age of 16 will have to have parental consent if they want to use a different name and pronoun at school? To say these teachers and activists are living in a different world would be an understatement. I think we can frankly use much harsher language to describe these people who really are so upset that they can't keep secrets from parents. Their thinking is basically this: if you don't accept the most outrageous standards set by these gender ideology cultists, then death will reign over communities. Suicide and homelessness and disease will take over our streets because we can't keep secrets from parents any longer. I don't know about you guys, but after watching these activists and teachers break down over a bill like this in Saskatchewan, I'm now more determined than ever to see a province like Alberta, a province that claims to be the heart of conservatism in Canada, adopt this policy as well. What are they doing? And Ontario, what is Ontario doing, allowing this to take place in these schools? All right, everyone, that's going to do it for us this week on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't expect to see Ratio next week. I'm taking the week off to recharge. I'll be back the following week. My name is Harrison Faulkner, and this is Ratio.